This past Wednesday, 100th Street in Fort St. John was lined with residents carrying signs in support of the development of the LNG industry in BC. The second such pro-LNG demonstration in the area in the past 2 months. Premier Christy and MLA Pimm were also on hand to address the hundreds of people who migrated to Centennial Park for the rally.
Thank you guys for doing so much and giving us the voice for LNG. We need it. Ottawa needs to hear it, and this is wonderful. It's my great honor today that we were able to get the Premier of this province to come here. This lady, she works her heart out for LNG. I have to tell you, she's wonderful. Premier Christy Clark.
Well, thank you, Pat. And thanks to all of you for finding the time to make this point today. And that point is this, because I know why you're here. You are here so that you can join all your colleagues, all your friends, your community, and British Columbians in fighting for jobs. We are doing nothing less than fighting for the life of British Columbia. We are fighting. We are fighting for Fort St. John. We are fighting for Dawson Creek. We are fighting for the Northwest. And we are fighting for 100,000 jobs that will be created across the breadth of this great province. And there are those in downtown Vancouver and Victoria, there are those in Ottawa, and there are those around the world who would have us say no. Well, they don't just say no to LNG, they say no to everything. They say no to workers, they say no to jobs, they say no to small business. But when they say no, you know what they're saying no to? They're saying no to your future. They're saying no to your kids. They're saying no to our chance to build something better for Canada. And British Columbia was not built by people who say no. British Columbia was built by men and women who had the courage to dream, who had the courage to stand up, and a vision to look for something bigger, to do things that maybe hadn't been done before, but who had the willingness and the courage to say yes. Yes to growth. Yes to resources. Yes to workers. Yes to jobs. And so we need to make our voices heard, because there will be many across this country who will want to say no. And we need to stand up as the forces of yes and make that voice heard in Victoria, in downtown Vancouver. We need to make that voice heard in Ottawa. Because you know what they care about in Ottawa? In Ottawa, they care about climate change. Let us help you. This is the cleanest. Now you know that natural gas is the cleanest fossil fuel on the planet. You know that if we can ship it to Asia, we can help clean up the world's air. So we say to Ottawa, let us help. In Ottawa, they care about economic growth and jobs. Canada's hurting. They're running a deficit. We say to Ottawa, let us help. Let us help. Let us help. Let us help. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to do something not just for British Columbia, not just for Canada. We are here to do something that will benefit the entire world by cleaning up the world's air, by creating jobs here in British Columbia, by creating revenue for the folks in Ottawa. We are doing more than our fair share for this country. And as I said, British Columbia has always been made by men and women who have the courage, the guts to stand up for what we believe in, to fight for jobs. And I believe in the power of British Columbians. I believe in the power of this province to change the future of our country. I believe in you. I believe in the power of the people here today to make a difference and to change Canada. So let's send that message across the country. Let's send it to all those people who would otherwise say no. Let's send a strong and powerful yes. And let's let them know that we here in Fort St. John, in the Northeast, and all over British Columbia, we are proud Canadians and we want jobs. I do want to just start by saying, before we talk about the rally, I want to just say a thank you to everybody in the communities here who has been working so hard to fight these fires. This has been a really devastating couple of days for a lot of people. And a lot of damage was avoided, a lot of harm was avoided because of the volunteers who came together. And you know, in the crowd today, I bet you most of them have been out there in one way or another supporting people who've been displaced or evacuated or fighting the fires themselves. It's an amazing community, this one, and people have really come together, and I just really want to say thanks, and I want everybody to know we've been in close contact with our folks. I talked to them this morning about where we're at in terms of fighting the fires. We're confident that we're going to be able to get them under control. We hope it'll be soon. It depends a little bit on the wind, but I want everybody to know we're doing everything that we possibly can to get these fires out of control and stop them threatening people's lives and communities as soon as we can. Well, every time I've met with the Prime Minister, and I mean every time, and every time I've spoken to him by phone, every contact I've had with every single member of Parliament, whether it's from British Columbia or anywhere else in the country, I talk to them about how important it is for Canada that these projects go ahead. And this is not just about the Northeast. I mean, the people you see behind me, many of whom are having trouble finding work, are going to benefit from it. But they're going to be, I mean, the wealth that's extracted from the ground underneath us is going to pay for healthcare in every province of this country. It's going to pay for building roads and airports. It's going to pay for building schools. We will be sharing it with Canada, but we need the chance to do that. And so what I've said to all of our federal MPs, including the Prime Minister, give us the chance to help. We want to build Canada. British Columbia has always been the westernmost province, least connected to the rest of Canada in a lot of ways, but we've always been here to help. Canada needs us, but they need to say yes to Pacific Northwest, and they need to say yes to all of the other LNG projects who may be waiting for approvals from the federal government. Well, I think they've been positive about it. You know, they want to know they've done their due diligence on it. Under this government, the process has begun to move a little more quickly. Pacific Northwest has been in the approvals process with the federal government for 1,000 days. 1,000 days to get either a yes or a no from the federal government. Everything else, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. This government has given it a little bit more attention and seems to be moving it a little more quickly, but time is of the essence in this market. And if we want to get this going, we need to make sure the federal government is going to say yes, find a way to make sure Pacific Northwest goes ahead. Let us help. Let us contribute to Canada. Let us help fight climate change. We can't do it unless people in the rest of the country decide they want to get to yes as much as we do here in BC.
When do you feel we need to have a yes by? How much longer can we wait?
Well, I mean, we are pressing Ottawa to try and make a decision as soon as humanly possible. We understand that a lot of their work has progressed quite quickly in the last little while. So, you know, my hope is within the next month or so we can get a yes from Ottawa. It's very hard to know, though. You know, every day that this project sits and waits for its approvals is another day that we've lost. The market is unpredictable. It's the worst market we've ever seen for oil and gas. That's no secret to most Canadians. We've got to get this thing going. And I keep saying to them, every day that we wait is a risk that we're taking that we don't need to take. These projects have passed their environmental approvals. They are supported by First Nations and communities. People want them. And it's a way for us to help clean up the world's air and fight climate change. What's not to like about that? Well, you know, I think the community continuing to make its voice heard is really important. You know, there will always be people who stand up and say no to everything. And what often happens is that those of us in the mainstream of Canada who believe in getting to yes often just assume that things are going to go our way. We need to stand up to special interests and single agendas and fight for yes and fight for mainstream, what's really, you know, mainstream jobs and working people. That's what most Canadians want. And what we know today is we can't stand idle and let the forces of no run this country. The forces of yes, the forces of jobs, the people who stand up for working people, have to make our voices heard. So this today is a huge, going to have a big impact. But in addition to that, the letter campaigns that are happening, the petition campaigns that are happening, I hope everybody who's here today will make a phone call to their federal member of parliament, make a phone call to their member of the Legislative Assembly, and make their voice heard. Because we need these projects to get built. We need to put people to work in Canada. Because it's not a jobs plan. The jobs and energy plan is about not having jobs. Their plan is about putting people on the unemployment line. People, you know, British Columbians don't want welfare checks. They want paychecks. People want to make a decent living, that they can send their kids to university or college, and that their kids don't have to leave the community that they grew up in so they can find a job right here. That's what people want. And people aren't going to support an NDP plan that's about trying to get rid of jobs, and a plan that's going to mean that more people end up on unemployment. We remember what that was like back in the days in the 1990s, and nobody wants to go back to that. Yes. It is a very early, I mean, this early start to the fire season is alarming for everybody in the province. I mean, I know it's been an immediate, urgent issue for people here in the Northeast, but, you know, if it's starting early here, it's going to start early everywhere else in the province. And this is the reality that we're facing today as the planet gets warmer. If there is any argument for exporting LNG and helping fight climate change, surely it is all around us when we see these fires burning out of control. Because, you know, we export our LNG to China. If we could get it there today, maybe those 150 coal plants that they intend to build tomorrow won't get built. And we can do our bit right here from the northeast of British Columbia in making sure that the world's that climate change doesn't continue to make our world warmer and these fires hotter. I don't think there's any better argument for exporting LNG than wanting to make sure that we do something to try and protect our forests and our climate and stop these fires that are burning out of control.
So what you're saying is the bushfire and that infrastructure is set up ready for this summer?
It is ready. We are ready. I mean, I talked to the fire center today, and they've got the guys that they need. Now, as we all know, in our fire centers, we depend on students for a lot of the fire season. They'll be available in May but until then, we know that we are adequately staffed up in the Northeast. But I am expecting that this is going to be a long, hot summer. We're going to need as many boots on the ground as we possibly can. And I do, you know, if I can just take a second to say thanks to all the folks out there who they really put their lives on the line to try and protect our homes and our lives and our communities. And we are so grateful to them for the work that they do. I think many of us wouldn't have the courage to do it, but they do it because they want to care about us.
One more and then we're good.
Do you know if there's more resources on the way to help
My little guy, he's not
crews
quite
up in
one.
this area?
I talked to them this morning, and they say that there are more resources that have come and that are on. You don't know what I'm saying, do you? That are on their way. More that have already come, and some that are yet to come and on their way. So, you know, we are deploying, as we always do, resources from across the province to where they're needed. And we will deploy all the resources that we need to the Northeast until we get this under control.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Right.